We're 10 years apart. And she's been my best friend since she was a baby. I was queer very early. In our community, that came with a lot of pushback from our community. You know, when it was time to make the unconditional love choice, she and my mother both made that choice. In the face of an entire community and infrastructure telling them both that they were going to burn in hell for doing so.
Well, welcome to My Legacy. We're here with Billy Porter. Billy, you are on the brink of EGOT status, an elite group of artists who have won the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and the Tony. His extraordinary life story is one of courage, resilience, and authenticity. And we hope it will inspire you to create a living legacy and lead a more fulfilled life. On this podcast, we don't just hear from iconic figures. We also connect with the people who know them best to give us deeper understanding of the challenges and the triumphs that have shaped their legacy. Joining Billy today is his sister, Mary Martha Ford, whose love and support have been central to his remarkable journey. Billy and Mary Martha, what a privilege it is to be with you, and thank you for being here. And so, Billy, we got to start off by asking you to introduce Mary Martha and sharing what makes her such an important person in your life.
Okay, well, Mary Martha Elizabeth Ford is my baby sister. We're 10 years apart. And she's been my best friend since she was a baby. It's like I couldn't wait till she was old enough so we could like hang out. I was like, get your childhood over with, please, so we can hang out. You know, I call her the rock star because, you know, she has turned a very complicated life into something great for herself and everyone around her. And I'm just, you know, honored to call her my rock star sister.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
It's beautiful. I love that. I'm here with my brother. I got goosebumps, or as you would say, God bumps.
There you go.
Listening to that one. I love it. Billy, so we're talking about legacy, and can you take us way back to Pittsburgh? Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and maybe share a story that really helps to shine a light on what life was like for you growing up in your younger years?
It was tough. You know, it was traumatizing very often, and there was a lot of love as well. And I had a lot of angels in my life who were encamped around me, who saw me in ways that sometimes my immediate family, my immediate sort of community didn't understand. Mm-hmm. And these people were able to just kind of guide me in the right directions so that I could dream and accomplish beyond my circumstance. You know, a music teacher identified that I could sing. And from that point on, you know, in the 5th grade, and from that point on, the angels in my life stepped in and made sure that I was able to, like I said, dream and accomplish beyond my circumstance.
Mary Martha, I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Being 10 years younger, what was your dynamic like when Billy, kind of growing up, and how has it evolved?
How has it evolved? So I don't remember him until my first memory was maybe when we were 5 or 6, and it was Christmas morning. That's one of my first memories. Christmas morning and him waking me up and taking me, like I rode his back into the living room. And there were gifts that he bought me with his own money because he had a job working at Kennywood, which was
Kennywood
our
Park.
Kennywood Park, which was our amusement park. I just remember Billy being kind and my friend, someone that I looked up to. And he was always singing. And so we were always everywhere where he was singing and performing. My mom and I would be there all of the time. I should have been at home on a school night, but I was in the theater. Wherever he was, that's where we were. And so that's how I ended up catching the theater bug as well. How has it evolved? It has evolved from being, I don't know, just brother and sister to best friends. And so I can call him about anything. We talk every morning, there's, just a check in. How you doing? I'm doing all right. What you doing today? And I'm very grateful for that. I recognize that the relationship as siblings that he and I have is not one that lots of people can say that they have with their siblings. And so it's something that I used to take for granted, which I don't take for granted anymore because now I recognize how true and precious it is.
What's so fascinating to me about that story, though, is I can just imagine. See, if you were in fifth grade, and then Billy is about 10 years older than you, like you all said a little bit earlier that there's a lot of trauma kind of growing up, but here, this to me says it all about your heart, about the fact of being an entertainer. You worked. I'm just make sure I heard the story correctly, and then made sure that your sister had a good Christmas. Your baby sister. It's almost like
Yeah.
that, that protection. But not only that, it seemed like there was so much joy. You got as much joy that Christmas morning. I just think that that's such a beauty. I actually almost brought tears to my eyes. Just I can kind of see you all, going through that, and I think it's so extraordinary. And I'm also curious then, Billy, how has your sister been a source of strength for you throughout your lives growing up?
Don't cry.
She, she was younger than me, and I was queer very early. In our community, that came with a lot of pushback from our
Yeah.
community,
Yep.
and our family. And, when it was time to make the unconditional love choice, she and my mother both made that choice. In the face of an entire community and infrastructure telling them both that they were going to burn in hell for doing so. Mary Martha was the first, person that I came out to in my family.
Even before your mom?
When she was 16, yeah, before my mother. Well, no, I told my mother, but my mother wasn't able to receive it for a while. So my sister was able to receive it at such a young age, and she was so present in the moment for me and so evolved, and it was something that I had worked on trying to give her, trying to actually be the same kind of angel for her that I had experienced for myself, to show her that there were spaces outside of our immediate infrastructure. There were people outside of our status quo, and experiences outside of that were just as important and more important than the religious dogma that was trying to sort of be ingrained in us. there were other options. And I was sort of trying to show her those other options. And I didn't realize that they had taken hold until I came out to her at 16. They had already taken hold. All of those things that I was trying to instill had already taken hold. And it was, it was magical, it was emotional, and it was gratifying and spiritual and all of those things.
Well, Billy and Mary Martha, we admire your tenacity, your love, your compassion towards each other. I also want to turn to your amazing career. Billy, your career has been a masterclass in breaking barriers and living authentically. What drives you to keep using your voice to create such substantive change as you do?
Artists have the power to reach inside of a human being and transform them from the inside out. Mm-hmm. Art has the power to heal all kinds of traumas. My soul was saved because of the arts. If I didn't have the arts, I don't think I would be alive right now. Maybe. And I know that when I'm at my lowest, for as long as I can remember, it's my art that gets me out of bed in the morning. And there was also, growing up, no representation really. No mainstream crossover representation of somebody who looked like me, who stood at that intersection of Blackness, queerness, and spirituality. And the ones who did were ignored, dismissed, passed over, erased. And so I know what it felt like to be invisible for over half my life. And the only reason why I'm not invisible is because I chose myself. I chose my authenticity. I chose to have the audacity to actually choose myself, choose my authenticity, and then stand on that.
Did you do that deliberately, or do you think that choice was made for you?
No, because for the first part of my life and my career, I was trying to fit in so I could eat. I wasn't lying, but it was the don't ask, don't tell era of the world. And so I wasn't telling. I wasn't lying, but I wasn't telling. And the omission of not telling is ultimately a lie. And that binds you as well, and so I had the gift of failing as somebody else. And particularly in the music industry, in the 90s. And I just vowed to myself that I would never show up as somebody else again. And whatever that meant for my life and career is whatever it means. And I still say that today. I grew up in a family who believed you got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. So even right now, with how you look at me, with how you see me, which I think is so humbling and so inspiring and exactly my point, right? To exist inside of the truth and to have the audacity to be authentic and to speak truth. Always. No matter how uncomfortable it may be to some of the people around you, sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not so great. Sometimes there are consequences that come with that, as you know. So I'm grateful that my work and my efforts and my intentions are being seen and experienced. Once again, in the spirit in which I am sharing them.
Billy, we're all so glad that you've chosen that authenticity. And I just want to say thank you for your eloquence. Mary
Thank
Martha, I
you.
just want to ask you a quick question about a moment that Billy's love and support made a difference in your life.
Oh, his love. It what people don't know is just how kind, like really genuinely kind Billy is. And about 14 years ago, I had a medical scare where I had to have brain surgery. And I was going to be down for the count for at least 6 weeks. And Billy was working on a show in New York. And the show ended on a Sunday. He got in the car on Monday, drove home to Pittsburgh. I had surgery on a Tuesday. And then he stayed with me for 6 weeks. And he took excellent care of me. So he's a great caregiver.
Wow. Wow.
He's a good chef too. People don't know that he likes to cook.
That's the thing. That's the thing that I would say, COVID lockdown really showed me that cooking is something that soothes me
Okay.
and something that's really healing to me. And it's a love language for me.
Yeah.
I'm not like a big gift giver and I'm not like that. But I love to show love through cooking. And if I cook for you, I love you.
Wow.
I don't generally cook for people who I don't like or care about.
Do you have a specialty?
He just likes to cook.
Just anything, huh?
Anything.
Wow.
And he can take anything that, remnants of stuff that's in the refrigerator and he'll come up with something and it bangs.
That's how I know Mary Martha. That's a good cook. That's always my test. Like I can follow a great recipe, or something that's been passed down, and I think I'm a pretty good cook, honey.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Well said, Martin. Well said.
My sisters, they go into me a true like they can go into the refrigerator and then they can see what's there and then make a recipe and then make it taste good. That always is my benchmark for a.
Yes.
Okay, see, there you go. Then you use that passes the test.
Billy, which of your projects has had the greatest impact on your personal growth and perspective as an artist?
There's not one, but I will say there's a trilogy. The first is Tony Kushner's Angels in America, which, do you know that piece?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that was the first time, Jeffrey Wright was the original Belize in that back in 94. And I went to see that on Broadway by myself. And that was a transformative moment because I didn't understand what I was missing. Speaking of representation again, I didn't know that I was missing seeing a Black queer character who was not the butt of the joke, who was not the one to be reviled or murdered, but who was the moral depth and heart of this piece. That was very dark and very heavy and very political. And, with a bunch of white people swirling around him, he was the one that held it all together emotionally and spiritually. And so that changed everything because up until then, my trajectory was not what I wanted it to be. And then Kinky Boots, which was the original dream coming true, the creation of an iconic character in the canon of the Broadway musical. That was me. That was developed and written around my skill set that I won the Tony and Grammy for. That was, and inside of that, my character who's a drag queen, drag artist, has a very not great relationship with his father. And he actively forgives him in the story. And my relationship with both of my fathers was tenuous at best. And I had a lot of forgiving to do. And so the act of forgiving even a fictional character 8 shows a week for 3 years is powerful. Because our bodies actually don't know the difference.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about being an actor and a performer. Our bodies don't know the difference when we're faking it. But our bodies and our nervous system still thinks it's the same. And we have to do the work to sort of untangle that emotionally and spiritually for ourselves. The third piece is pose. Because the character of Pray Tell, the community that it's dealing with, the time frame that it exists in, all of those things are a part of what it feels like as an artist to be in the center of your purpose, calling, and ministry. Those 3 pieces were a culmination of really, really hard and focused work and choices that I had made for 2 decades, to get there. I walked away from the status quo. I took the road less traveled because I knew that if I was going to continue down the trajectory that I was on, I would never be happy.
And it's so interesting because with that comes a lot of, there's a reason why the road less traveled can be lonely sometimes. So,
Yeah.
in the end, it seems like, oh, this is, it's a lot of celebrations. But what people don't really see and understand is all the sacrifices, I think, that goes into that, not only when you're doing it, but I'm sure, even now. And one of the things that I've been so curious about is that you've been a shining beacon for so many young people struggling, right, to embrace who they are. But being one of the first Black queer men to live, just so boldly, and particularly in the spotlight, I know it comes with intense pressure. Like we know about the pressure that people don't see. Can you just share an experience or what that has been like for you?
I want to tell the truth.
Yep.
And I've been trying to find ways to tell my truth with an eye towards the compassionate and the positive. The most difficult thing for me is being put out by your own. I'm already Black. I'm a man. I'm Black first. But for some reason, inside of this queer conversation, this queerness conversation, and this intersection with the Black community, it's as if queerness doesn't exist. We have a very homophobic community, and we've grown. And I want to say that too. We've grown. There has been movement, and I'm grateful for that because I've seen it, because I'm inside of it, so I've seen it, and I am grateful for that. But I find that is the hardest thing for me on a consistent basis. Even with the growth, I'm hit in the face with it. At times when I've let my guard down. One of those moments, because you asked for a specific moment, one of those moments recently was this past June when I was in DC, and I was I was headlining at Gay Pride, and then I was invited to the White House that Monday morning for a Juneteenth summit, where I sat on the dais with lots of very smart, intellectual people, and we talked about, the work that needs to be done and how are we going to transform what we're going through right now and all of that. And then I went to the concert on the White House lawn and just so happened to be placed on the front row next to the second gentleman who was next to the vice president, who was next to the president. And when they came in, I greeted them all. Now, I kissed the hand of President Biden. I kissed the hand of Vice President Harris. I gave, the second gentleman a big hug. And the next morning, somebody ran a photo of me kissing the hand of Joe Biden next to a drawing of a slave kissing President Lincoln's hand. The reason why we can't get anywhere, and every time there's forward motion and progressive motion, but the pendulum swings so far back, is because inside of our own communities, we're doing that. We're not supporting each other. It's like, so what are you saying? Once again, what are you saying? Because tell the truth, you actually aren't mad. It doesn't make sense that you would be mad that I'm kissing President Biden's hand next to this parallel that you're trying to draw. Because that drawing was done in the moment, right? Not with 300 years of history or however long it was. It wasn't done with the history behind it, right? So that person was happy. That slave was happy that he was emancipated. And he was literally simply thanking the man who emancipated him. We pulled Joe Biden out of retirement to come and try to save democracy, which he and his administration did. And I'm grateful for that. Nobody's perfect. Nobody does everything right. We're not going to agree with everybody on everything. But for me, I've been in this long enough to know what the motivation is for real. And the motivation is that I am a Black faggot, and I use the word on purpose because that's how violent these responses are to me simply being myself, right? I'm in a sparkly caftan on the front row. I'm embarrassing to the Black community. Not everybody, let me be clear. How dare I have the audacity to be on the front row, out loud, proud, in a dress? How dare I?
Is it more anger or hurt?
I don't know.
No, for you, like when you, yes, for you, because
it's
like when,
both.
yeah, mm-hmm.
It's both. Mm-hmm. It's all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm out here trying to help everybody. Mm-hmm. I'm Black first, y'all. Whether y'all want to acknowledge that or not, people see me as Black first, babies. Even with the queer community, I've had to start going to things and being like, y'all know I'm Black first though, right? I stand at this intersection, but I'm Black first. And clearly I have to remind you all of that. So I'm going to start reminding y'all.
Well, Mary Martha is a Black woman.
Yeah.
Because that's,
Yes.
we talk about that a lot, being Black and being a woman and kind of all that,
Right.
that brings.
I'm Black.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of it. I'm Black first.
Mm-hmm.
Woman second. And people put it together, Black woman. And then that has its own context for some people. It's not separate, but I'm at a lot of intersections myself.
Mary Martha, can I ask you a question? And I ask this gingerly, and let me acknowledge the fact that I'm not Black. And so I ask this seeking to listen and learn. You have witnessed your brother go through challenges, but also be a hero for so many in the Black community, but just in the community writ large. When you look at him, you have seen him at the most challenged points of his life, and you've seen him the most extraordinary points of his life. What are you most proud of as his sister, who knows him on an intimate and a personal level in a way that we never will, but you have seen the struggles and you've seen the triumphs?
Yes. Well, the highs in this business can be high and the lows can be really low. And what I'm most proud of is how he continues to get up every day and to show up for his life. That's what I'm most proud of, because that is something that I strive for. I can look to him and I say, he gets up every day and he is showing up for his life. I too can get up every day and show up for my life. It doesn't matter what people say, even though, you're human. And so, yes, sometimes the things that people may say or miscategorize you as, of course, that's going to bother you. But he keeps getting up and moving through it. And that's what's very inspiring.
Did that kind of help you when you were talking about having brain surgery? And
Oh yeah.
And was that also something that helped you get through that time?
Absolutely. That and our mother. Our mom was born with a neurological condition very similar to cerebral palsy, and she got up every day and showed up for her life. And so that was also the blueprint for the both of us, so that we can continue to be the people that we are today.
Billy, you've been open about the profound pain you've worked through in trauma therapy. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that and perhaps some of the meaningful breakthroughs you've had along the way.
The mental health profession and what they have developed over the years to sort of help people heal themselves, heal trauma, all of those things, it's extraordinary. And I began a very tailored process to my specific trauma in very specific trauma therapy during COVID. In a way that, I keep saying the world shut down so that I could address my trauma for real. And the thing I learned the most and I still deal with is the self-compassion component that all of us have to learn about for ourselves and for our mental health. Self-care and boundaries. The fact that I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what a boundary was. And so I kept finding myself in relationships, particularly romantic relationships with no boundaries. Those are the two biggest healing components that I have taken away from that, in the practice, in the everyday practice.
Mary Martha, witnessing Billy confront and to start to heal from such deep trauma must be quite a powerful experience. What changes have you seen in him since he's began his own journey of trauma healing?
The self-compassion, seeing him learning how to say no. Billy is such a giver and always wanted to see everyone win, but sometimes when we do that, to what end, at what cost? And so seeing him being able to say no and to take care of himself.
Billy, you are on the brink of EGOT status, an elite group of artists who have won the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and the Tony. You've already won 3 of those. We have no doubt the Oscar is in your future. And when you were honored at the most recent Tony Awards, oh my God, it was amazing to watch. You dedicated it to your mother, of course, who, of
Yes.
course, passed away shortly there before. Can you share with us a little about your incredible mother and the greatest lesson that she passed to you?
Well, like Mary Martha said, she was born with a condition that would have put anybody else in the grave early. She wasn't, you know, supposed to be able to probably not live past 30, probably not be able to take care of herself, all of those things, all of that negative naysaying stuff. And she found a way to, she chose to get up every day and not take those predictions to heart. She was also a very religious woman who I watched choose an expansion of her mind inside of the doctrines of religiosity to find the space to love her gay son unconditionally anyway. She was the personification of what true Christianity means. I'm just forever grateful. Everybody doesn't get that. And it wasn't immediate. We had things to work through. And she did the work.
Yes, she did.
She did the work in a um, profound way. Yeah, we miss her a lot.
And my mom passed away 5 years ago. And
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I'm sorry for you all's loss.
Yeah.
It is, I wish I could say it gets easier. And even, there are times when I still look for her. I still have her number, on my phone, and something happens. One of the first things I still want to do is call my mom, and it sometimes it still hits me, and it particularly around the holidays, even just the other day, something came on, and I just sat and had a good cry. Well, first of all, Maya Angelou said that when your mom is gone, no matter what your relationship is with her, one of the things that you will miss her more than you know. And I was incredibly close to my mom, and still miss her more than I know. There's something that you feel untethered.
Yeah.
Yes.
And especially when someone is such a giver. Like my mom, it seems like your mom was. And I hope that both of you all know that there are so many people around this nation and the world that are holding you as you're walking through this journey. You all,
Thank you.
You all are not alone.
That's appreciated. Thank you.
Mary Martha, you've shared that grief is a journey.
Yeah.
What have you learned about, healing and resilience?
I'm still learning. It's a daily practice. I get up and I say, okay, so what's going to happen today? Will it be looking at, I don't know, a cherry pie in the grocery store that gets me to remembering my mom and I burst out in tears and run out? Mm-hmm. I'm learning just to take it one day at a time. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing.
I always say it's so wonderful to give people space and grace.
Space and grace. And one of the things that is so hard to do is to give yourself the space and grace.
Yeah.
It's very easy to give it to other people. But what about yourself? That's where that self-compassion comes in. But one thing that I did learn and that I've been working on is called the rose, the thorn, and the bud. And this is what I've been working through with my grief, is that I pick something great that has happened. Then I may say something that maybe has gotten on my nerves, and then something that I can look forward to. And so that's what I do practice on a daily, is my rose, thorn, and bud.
We used to do that at family dinners.
Yep.
Every night with our daughter Yolanda. Like, okay, what is the thorn for the day? And what is the rose? What is the gift?
Yes.
So we do that. We need to get back to doing that. We need to do that with our daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy, your life's work has been about creating change through art. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone looking to make a difference in their own unique way?
My advice would be that you have to understand who you are, understand what the calling and the purpose is, and just get up and put one foot in front of the other and do it every day. Tell the truth, and like I said earlier, the truth is not always easy. As we've seen over the last decade, the truth is under attack. A lot of people don't want to hear the truth. A lot of people don't want the truth because the truth can be horrifying sometimes. And the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to be set free.
They say they do. But they don't want it.
That was what was so interesting about trauma therapy. Because trauma therapy is about the truth. And I want to be set free. And then you start the process and you're like, ooh.
There's some days you didn't want to go back.
Yeah, there's some days that the truth is not, not today. Not today.
I'm curious too. Because you said that you started trauma therapy like during COVID. So 2020, 2021, by this time you were already a very well-known and accomplished individual. You could have just not continue, but to hide behind, what was there anything in particular that made you decide, okay, this is the time, this is the moment?
I was in a very toxic marriage that was a pattern that I couldn't seem to break. That was the initial impulse. It's like, I got to do better for myself. And I don't know how to do that, I don't think. I've tried. I know what the pattern is. I thought I broke said pattern, and ultimately I haven't. So I might need some help. Because I don't want to stay in this pattern. I don't want to keep doing it. The definition of crazy is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Different results. Yeah.
I don't want, I have too much to do on this planet to be bound by stupid stuff. Or not stupid stuff, just the same stuff. Sorry, I don't mean to diminish my own self. That's the self-compassion part. Like, I have to stop talking about that. It actually is, it matters.
Well, look, see, you got it.
Sorry.
No, and that's good. See, and I love, and there you go.
That's what it is, practicing it in the moment.
Yes, exactly. And that's true compassion for yourself, not expecting the perfection, right? But catching yourself and acknowledging.
Yes.
And that in and of itself takes courage.
Yes.
So many of us don't want to acknowledge, and so to catch ourselves like, okay, and I can choose something different. It's very evident during this conversation, Mary Martha, that you have, and I love that I'm here for the two names, the two names as a love it. That
it's really three names.
Oh, what's Elizabeth?
I'm Elizabeth is my middle name.
Okay.
So I'm Mary Martha Elizabeth. Oh yeah, all the names.
Like sometimes when you were you always did your mom always say Mary Martha Elizabeth and you knew then that you were in an extra?
I was in extra trouble if I heard all the names. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, it's quite evident that you're such a steady source of love and strength in your brother's life. What would you say is one meaningful way that you think we all can uplift our loved ones?
Giving them the space to be exactly who they are. Learning how to love unconditionally. Without judgment. That's how you get to uplift someone else.
Well said.
Yeah.
We all just want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Acknowledged, heard, and loved.
Yeah.
Billy, while happiness is often seen as the ultimate goal, it doesn't necessarily equate to a fulfilled life. What do you believe are the key ingredients of living a fulfilled life?
You have to choose yourself. You know, there's no way to be happy when you're lying. You know, one must choose truth. One must choose yourself. And I know for me, growing up in the church, you know, one of the things that was very difficult for me was conflating choosing myself with being selfish.
Interesting.
And I think that's being illuminated these days in ways that, you know, it's like, oh no, actually, because when I put my oxygen mask on first, which is a version of choosing myself, then I'm actually have more energy and more consistency
To help others.
to help others and to give to others.
To Billy and to Mary Martha, thank you for bringing just this beautiful energy between the two of you. For those who are listening, I love how often you were holding each other's hands and leaning into each other's shoulders and just being there as siblings in this incredible way. And you know, through this episode, I love how much you've spoken about that unwavering family support that you provided for each other. The you know, seeing you get teared up when you're talking about your mother, you know, the courage to break barriers that she did in her own life. And I'm left with these three, you know, reflections. One, this importance of self-compassion. I love, Billy, how you talked about setting boundaries. About setting boundaries in relationships, setting boundaries for yourself. And it starts with self, putting the oxygen mask on first. Second, I love that you talked about forgiveness and even finding ways to forgive individuals in unconventional ways. As you said, the body doesn't know the difference. When you were there 8 times a week for multiple years, forgiving as an actor, but forgiving the father figure and what that meant for you and to be free in that way. But I got to say, the single greatest takeaway was authenticity. Like, just, you've lived your life with authenticity. I love when you said, you don't mind failing as long as you're not failing as somebody else. And I love the line, you've got to choose yourself. Like, my God, I wish everyone, and it doesn't matter what their, you know, artist, passion, purpose, like, just got to choose yourself, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
And so I love that you took time to share that with us, but mostly I love that you lived it. You proved it through your life. Like, that's how you've living your legacy. And in this beautiful conversation, the two of you together showing us this path to a more fulfilled life. We are grateful to both of you.
We're grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening the door. I'm sorry that the pain that you carried and that you went through. But my God, I am so grateful. And I almost can feel, I don't know your mom, but almost like a kind of putting her arms around both of you all. And it's like, it's okay, baby.
Yeah, she's
It's
here.
okay,
She's
baby.
here.
And
She's with us all the time.
yeah,
all
well,
the time.
we're so grateful, just for who you are, who both of you all are in this world. When sometimes you maybe felt that you weren't seen or you weren't celebrated, that you continue to move forward and you're pushing the envelope and pushing expansion for all of us. For all of us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And when you get that Oscar,
I'll get it.
What are we gonna do to celebrate?
Let me just get a job right now so I can pay these bills. Because these awards don't pay the bills, baby. They're nice to look at, but I still got my bills
Guys, thank you so much. And we
you
send
all.
lots of love
Thank
and lots of
you.
compassion
Thank
and
you.
lots of
Thank
gratitude.
you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for seeing me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. We are so grateful to have you as part of this journey. If you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe and share the podcast with friends, family, and loved ones, and follow us on social media at My Legacy Movement. At the heart of this podcast is Dr. King's vision of the beloved community and the power of connection. This podcast is a testament to that vision and the product of collective effort, enriched by the voices, stories, and support of so many. A Legacy Plus studio production distributed by iHeartMedia. Creative and executive producer Suzanne Hayward. Co-executive producer Lisa Lyle. My Legacy podcast is available on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, may you find connection and inspiration to live your most fulfilled life.